I poisoned my brother's coffee that morning, not with arsenic or some melodramatic toxin from a spy novel, but with the slow-drip truth I'd been brewing for 7 years. Emails, bank records, the kind of digital ghosts that don't kill you outright, but make you wish they would. Mom's voice cracked over the phone like brittle autumn leaves underfoot in our old Ohio backyard. They're only asking you because Dad feels guilty, Kinley. It's pity, plain and simple. I smiled into the receiver, the one with the chipped enamel from when we were kids fighting over the cordless, and said, wouldn't miss it for the world. But inside, the hook was set. Tonight, at the annual Hargrove family Thanksgiving in that McMansion Dad bought with blood money, I'd gut them all with the blade of revelation, starting with the man who'd sold me out for a corner office. 7 years ago, I was 23, fresh out of community college with a nursing certificate and dreams of scrubs and steady paychecks in Cleveland's understaffed ERs. McKinley Hargrove, the good daughter, the fixer-upper kid who'd patched Mom's hangovers with black coffee and Dad's alibis with forged timesheets. Our family was the picture of Midwest mediocrity. Dad, Victor, the mid-level accountant at Keystone Financial who'd clawed his way up from the mailroom. Mom, Elaine, the part-time realtor with a laugh like wind chimes and a pill habit hidden in her jewelry box. And my brother, Travis, the golden boy, 3 years my senior, with his Wharton MBA and that predatory grin that closed deals before the ink dried. We lived in a split-level rancher on Elmwood Drive, the kind of place where neighbors wave from Buicks and kids bike without helmets because that's how we did it back in the day. It started unraveling the summer after my graduation. Dad's firm was hemorrhaging clients in the post, 2008 hangover, and Travis, interning in the executive suite, whispered in his ear about opportunities. Offshore accounts, shell companies, the usual white-collar waltz around the SEC. Dad bit hard. He funneled client funds into a Cayman setup, skimming just enough to keep the lights on and Travis's student loans at bay. But Dad was sloppy, trails of 1099s and suspicious wire transfers that lit up like Christmas trees on the auditor's dashboards. When the feds came knocking, it was Travis who pointed the finger at me. Kinley handles the books at home, he lied, smooth as the bourbon he sipped neat. She's always been good with numbers. Maybe she dipped into Dad's accounts to help with her tuition. I took the fall because that's what fixers do. Pleaded guilty to accessory fraud on a sweetheart deal from a prosecutor who saw me as the weak link in a chain of Hargrove enablers. 18 months in a minimum security camp upstate, the kind where you learn to crochet and counsel addicts in group therapy circles. Mom visited once, sobbing about how family sticks together. But Travis? He sent a card on my birthday. Chin up, sis. This'll make you stronger. Dad got probation and a slap on the wrist, parlayed his lessons learned into a consultant gig. Travis. He rocketed up the ladder, VP by 28, married to a sorority girl named Brooke who posted blessed on Instagram from their lake house. Out on parole 3 months ago, I didn't go home. Rented a studio in Akron, took night shifts at a walk-in clinic, and spent my days in the county library's computer lab, piecing together the puzzle Travis thought he'd buried. VPNs, FOIA requests, a shady PI who'd owed me a favor from the joint. It turned out Travis hadn't just framed me. He'd orchestrated the whole damn heist. Dad was the patsy, Mom the lookout who forged my signature on dummy docs. The secret they'd chiseled into our family lore? Travis's real score. He'd siphoned an extra million for himself, parked it in crypto before the bust, and used my conviction to seal the vault. The betrayal wasn't just deep. It was foundational, a rot that started in the womb and festered through every holiday ham and forced hug. Mom's call came on Tuesday, 3 days before Thanksgiving. The whole clan's coming. Your cousins from Toledo, Aunt Rita with her Jell-O salad. Dad booked the caterers from that Italian place. Her voice hitched, the pity thick as gravy. They didn't want a Kinley. Not after. You know. But it's family. I bit my tongue on the irony. Family. The word they'd weaponized to chain me to silence. Tell them I'm bringing dessert, I said, my smile audible. That night, I printed the dossier. Timestamps, ledgers, a sworn affidavit from the PI linking Travis's offshore wallet to the fraud. No guns, no theatrics, just paper cuts that would bleed them dry. Driving west on I-71 the day before, the Ohio flats blurring into goldenrod fields under a slate sky, I rehearsed the lines in my head. Not screams, not accusations hurled like dinner rolls. No, I'd be the ghost at the feast, slipping truths between the small talk like arsenic in the aperitif. Travis would squirm first, his Rolex ticking like a bomb. Dad would bluster, Mom dissolve into tears. The cousins? They'd fracture, some nodding in grim agreement, others defending the bloodline because Victor's always been good to us. And Brooke? Oh, she'd post about it later. Family drama, but gratitude wins Turkey Day. The McMansion loomed at the end of Willow Creek Lane, a beige behemoth with Doric columns and a 3-car garage stuffed with Lexuses. I parked my '98 Civic curbside, the dossier tucked in my purse like a talisman. Mom met me at the door, her perm frizzed from the humidity, hugging me too tight, her Chanel No. 5 cloying. You look thin, honey. Prison food. I laughed it off, stepping into the foyer where framed photos mocked me. Travis's wedding, my high school grad. Me cropped out of the family portrait from last year. Dad clapped my shoulder from the living room, eyes darting to the flat screen tuned to Fox News. Good to have you back, kiddo. Liar. Dinner was set for 6, but the pregame started early, cocktails in the sunroom, the one with the koi pond view. Travis arrived fashionably late, Brooke on his arm in cashmere and pearls, their toddler in tow, a cherub named Hunter who toddled straight to me with sticky fingers. Auntie Kin. I scooped him up, inhaling baby shampoo, a pang hitting me square, the life I'd lost, the nieces and nephews who'd grown without me. Travis air-kissed my cheek, his cologne sharp as deceit. Sis, you clean up nice. Rehab treating you right. Rehab, the euphemism they'd peddled to the relatives, kins in treatment for stress. Brooke cooed sympathies, but her eyes appraised my thrift store sweater like it was contagious. As the sun dipped, casting long shadows across the persimmon walls, we migrated to the dining room. The table groaned under crystal and silver, catered rigatoni, herb-crusted turkey, pies from the Amish market. Toasts circled, to health, to prosperity, to moving forward. I raised my glass of Merlot, the wine tart on my tongue, and waited for the lull. Mom's pity invite hung in the air like smoke, but my smile? It was the fuse, lit and hissing toward the powder keg. The first cut came easy, disguised as nostalgia. Remember that summer in '08, Trav? I said, swirling my wine, the stem cool against my palm. The room hushed, forks pausing midair over mashed potatoes studded with chives. Travis's laugh barked out, too loud, his fork spearing a green bean like it had personally offended him. God, kin, ancient history. Why dredge that up? But I leaned in, voice honeyed with venom. Because you were the one who taught me about creative accounting. Dad's old ledgers in the garage. You showed me how to fudge the columns for your car fund. Eyes swiveled. Aunt Rita's brows arched under her blue rinse bob. Cousin Mike from Toledo choked on his roll. Mom's smile faltered, her manicured nails digging into the linen. Travis recovered quick, that Wharton polish gleaming. Kid stuff, sis. We were broke-ass teens dreaming big. He winked at Brooke, who tittered obligingly, but I saw the flicker, the lizard brain calculating escape routes. Dad cleared his throat, the vein in his neck pulsing like a warning light. Water under the bridge, McKinley. Let's not sour the bird. But I wasn't done filleting. Slipping the first page from my purse, a scanned receipt from that summer, Travis's juvenile signature on a falsified expense report for Dad's firm. I slid it across the table like a place card. Funny how bridges get built on lies. This one's got your name on it, brother dear. The paper whispered against the oak, landing beside the cranberry relish. Travis's face drained to the color of the giblet gravy, his knuckles whitening around his knife. What the hell is this, Kinley? Some parole board revenge porn. Brooke gasped, hand to her throat, the pearls a noose. Hunter started fussing in his high chair, but no one moved to soothe him. The air crackled, electric as a Midwest thunderstorm rolling in off Lake Erie. Mom whimpered, girls, please, as if this were a catfight over the last slice of pie. But Aunt Rita snatched the page, her bifocals slipping down her nose. Victor, this date. That's when Keystone had that audit scare. Cousin Mike leaned over, his flannel sleeve brushing the butter dish. Holy shit, Trav, you were 16. That's juvenile bullshit. Travis slammed his palm down, the crystal goblets tinkling like wind chimes in a gale. I was a dumb kid, okay? Dad covered for me. End of story. But his eyes, those shark eyes that had charmed investors out of millions, darted to Dad, pleading for the lifeline. Victor Hargrove, the man who'd raised us on John Wayne reruns and pull yourself up by your bootstraps sermons, shifted in his seat, his tie askew like a hangman's knot. It was a mistake, Rita. All of it. Family looks out for family. His voice boomed, that old salesman's bluster, but it cracked on the last word, and I savored it, the fracture line spiderwebbing through the facade. That's when the flips started, subtle at first, like a card sharp palming an ace. Mom, ever the peacemaker with her Valium soft edges, reached for my hand across the table, her rings cold. Kinley, honey, we know it was hard. But Travis, he's got a family now. Little Hunter needs his daddy whole. The plea twisted in my gut, the same one she'd used on the judge, painting me as the reckless sibling so Travis could skate. I pulled back, gentle but firm, and dealt the next card. A photo printout, grainy but damning, of Travis in a Nassau bar 3 years back, toasting with a cocktail umbrella while I rotted in gray sweats. Whole. Like how you kept him whole while I scrubbed toilets for commissary cash. This was taken the week of my sentencing. Sentimental, right? Brooke's facade splintered then, her sorority smile curdling to something feral. This is libel, McKinley. You think you can waltz in here with Photoshop trash and ruin us? She snatched Hunter up, the boy's wail piercing the din, and stormed toward the kitchen, but not before hissing over her shoulder. You're just bitter because no one's ever going to love a jailbird like you. The words landed like buckshot, scattering the relatives into factions. Aunt Rita muttering about poor Elaine's nerves, Cousin Mike texting furiously under the table, probably to his lawyer brother-in-law, and Uncle Frank, the retired cop, eyeing me like I was the perp at a lineup. Travis seized the moment, his cunning uncoiling like a spring. He stood, all 6'2" of Ivy League entitlement, and rounded the table to me, hand on my shoulder in a mockery of brotherly concern. Look, Kin, I get it. You're hurting. That place. It changes you. His voice dropped to that therapist timbre he'd practiced in front of mirrors. But this? He crumpled the photo, tossing it into the candle centerpiece where it curled and blackened. This is you lashing out. Dad, tell her. Tell her we're sorry, but enough. The flip was masterful, from accused to victim, painting me the unhinged ex-con crashing the pity party. Dad nodded, eager for the out, his jowls quivering. He's right, Pumpkin. Put it away. For Mom. I almost bought it, the old muscle memory kicking in. The fixer, smoothing edges, swallowing shards. But 7 years of bunk beds and barbed wire had honed me sharper than their regrets. I shrugged off Travis's hand, the touch burning like acid, and produced the ledger excerpt. Page 12 of the Fraud Bible, Travis's digital signature authorizing the final transfer. The one that buried me. Sorry doesn't pay restitution, Dad. Or erase the perjury you both signed off on. The table erupted then, voices overlapping in a cacophony of denial and defense. Mom sobbing into her napkin. We did it for you. All of you. The house, the college funds. Aunt Rita demanding details, her voice rising like yeast in dough. Cousin Mike. Jesus, Trav, if this hits the news. Uncle Frank. Sounds like obstruction on top of everything. Through the chaos, Travis's eyes locked on mine, not with rage but calculation. The antagonist unmasked, plotting his counter. He excused himself to check on Brooke, but I knew better. He'd be in the study, shredding hard drives or speed dialing his fixer. The rain started pattering against the French doors, a staccato underscore to the unraveling. I sipped my wine, the Merlot now tasting of iron, and wondered if they'd taste the pity when I shoved the full dossier down their throats. The hook was in deep now, but the real reeling? That came after the pie. As plates cleared, the turkey carcass picked clean, simple enough, Mom herded us into the great room for coffee and dessert stories, her code for deflection. The fire crackled in the stone hearth, casting flickering shadows that danced like accusations on the walls. Travis reemerged, Brooke at his side, her makeup repaired but eyes red-rimmed. Hunter conked out on a playmat with his organic plush. Truce, Travis offered, extending a mug of decaf, steam curling like a peace flag. I took it, our fingers brushing, his warm, mine steady, and nodded. For now. But in that mug, I'd already imagined the poison, not just evidence, but the secret they'd buried deepest. The one that made my fall not just betrayal, but sacrifice. The crime I'd borne alone? It wasn't fraud. It was murder, Travis's, covered up by family hands, mine included. The coffee burned going down, black and bitter as the truth I'd choked on for years. We settled into the leather sectional, the one Dad financed with skimmed bonuses, its cushions swallowing us like quicksand. Uncle Frank nursed a scotch, his badge days etched in the squint of his eyes. Aunt Rita fiddled with her cross necklace, whispering Hail Marys under her breath. Cousin Mike had vanished to the deck for a smoke, his phone glow illuminating furtive texts. Mom dimmed the lights, cueing the slideshow on the smart TV, a Hargrove tradition, pixels of Christmases past and vacations in the Smokies, set to some schmaltzy John Mayer track. To remember the good times, she murmured, but her glance at me screamed, "Don't ruin this." The screen flickered to life. Baby Travis in a sailor suit, me gap-toothed at 8, pushing him on the tire swing. Laughter rippled, forced at first, then genuine. The human itch to cling to nostalgia when the present reeks of rot. Brooke cooed over Hunter's ultrasound pics. Travis's arms snaked possessively around her, but I caught him watching me in the periphery, his jaw set like concrete. The antagonist's mind whirring. How to flip this back? Make me the villain in the family album. As the slides looped to our high school proms, me in thrift taffeta, him with a date who looked like a Stepford clone, I cleared my throat, the sound slicing the playlist like a skipped CD. Speaking of good times, I said, voice pitched casual as a weather report. Remember the winter of 15? That cabin up in Hocking Hills, the one Dad won in a client raffle? The room stilled, even the fire pops hushed. Travis's grip tightened on Brooke's knee. Dad's face paled under the TV's blue glow. "Kinley," he warned, but I pressed on, the dossier's next exhibit in hand. A coroner's prelim, redacted names, but dates that screamed. We went up there to bond, right? After Travis's big merger fell through. Booze, bonfires, and that accident with Uncle Ray's truck. The slideshow froze on a photo of us kids building snowmen, but no one laughed now. Uncle Frank leaned forward, glass midway to his lips. Ray's truck? The one that went off the ravine? Cops called it black ice, mechanical failure. Aunt Rita crossed herself fully this time. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, muffling a gasp. Travis shot up, feigning concern. "Kin, you're not well. That stint. It messes with your head. Let's get you some air." But I waved him off, unfolding the report with deliberate slowness, the paper crinkling like dry leaves. "Not ice, Frank. Brake lines cut clean. And the truck? Titled to Keystone, but driven that night by Travis." After he and Ray argued over those creative investments, Ray sniffed out. The revelation hung there, a guillotine blade mid-drop. Eyes ricocheted, from me to Travis, to Dad, whose Adam's apple bobbed like a buoy in a storm. Brooke's face twisted, confusion warring with the dawning horror of betting a killer. "Travis, you said it was a storm." He cut her off, voice a whip crack. "It was a storm, babe. Ray was drunk, swerved into the guardrail. Kinley's delirious, mixing up timelines. The flip again, seamless, from cornered to caretaker, positioning me as the fragile ex-con hallucinating grudges. But Uncle Frank, the ex-cop with a nose for bullshit, snatched the report, scanning it under the lamp. "This signature, authorizing the tow, that's yours, Vic. And the timestamp, post-mortem." Dad deflated then, shoulders slumping like a punctured tire. "It was mercy, Frank. Ray was gonna blow the whistle, drag us all down. Travis." He panicked. I covered the tracks, said it was company business. Mom dissolved into full sobs, rocking on the ottoman. He was family too. But we had loans, the house, God forgive us. The room fractured further. Aunt Rita wailing about eternal damnation, Cousin Mike bursting back in, phone in hand. "Holy fuck, I just Googled it. Ray's obit says tragic mishap, but there's a civil suit that got buried." Brooke bolted upright, Hunter stirring in protest. "You killed him? For money?" Her voice cracked, the pearls snapping as she clutched them. Travis's cunning peaked here, a serpent shedding skin. He knelt before Brooke, eyes brimming with rehearsed tears. "No, love, it was self-defense. Ray came at me with a tire iron, raving about audits. The truck, it was the only way. Lies layered like Philo, but he wove in the hook. Kinley knew. She was there, in the cabin. Helped me stage it as an accident. That's why she took the fraud fall, to buy our silence." The room inhaled sharply, gazes swiveling back to me like spotlights on a perp walk. Uncle Frank's Scotch glass hit the side table with a clink. That true, girl? Aunt Rita. McKinley, tell me it's not. Mom, between hiccups. You said it was your idea, honey, to protect us. The twist gutted me deeper than any blade, because he wasn't entirely wrong. I'd been there. Yes, nursing a flu in the loft while they schemed below. Heard the shouts, the rev of the engine, Ray's final curse echoing off the pines. When Travis stumbled in, hands shaking, blood-flecked snow on his boots, I'd cleaned him up, whispered, "We'll say he drove off drunk." Not out of loyalty, but terror. The fixer in me seeing the dominoes. Jail for all, Mom's overdose, Dad's suicide watch. I'd borne the fraud rap to bury it deeper, signing the perjury with trembling hands because family first was the catechism we'd all swallowed. But Travis? He'd twisted it into my confession, flipping the narrative so I was the co-conspirator, the willing wheelman in Ray's death. Betrayal's aftertaste soured the air, thick as the turkey leavings. I stood, legs steady despite the quake inside, and faced them. I covered, yes. But you, Travis, you drove the blade. And Dad, you notarized the lie. Mom, you laundered the payout through your commissions. The accusations flew back, a volley, Travis retorting, "You wanted in on the score. That nursing gig wouldn't cut it for your big city dreams." Brooke, torn, cradling Hunter like a shield. "Is it true? Did you help kill a man?" Even as she accused, her eyes pleaded, "Save us. Unravel this." Uncle Frank rose, badge instinct kicking in. "This goes to the cops. Vic manslaughter, at least." But Dad's bluster returned, controversial in its desperation. "And what? Ruin Hunter's future? Elaine's health? We're Hargroves. We fix our own messes." The rain hammered now, thunder rumbling like distant artillery. Factions hardened. Aunt Rita and Uncle Frank for truth in tribunals. Cousin Mike hedging bets with "let's lawyer up." Mom and Dad clinging to the old code. Travis pulled Brooke aside, murmuring promises. "We'll fight this, baby. Kinley's the threat." But she yanked away, the first crack in his empire. As the clock struck 10, the dossier's crown jewel burned in my purse. Travis's crypto ledger, tied not just to fraud, but to Ray's accident fund. Payoffs to the tow operator, the coroner. The revenge climax brewed, not in shouts but schisms, forcing the question, was I avenger or accomplice? The family split down bloody lines, no heroes in the rubble. And me? I smiled through the storm, knowing the real poison dropped next. Midnight crept in on the back of lightning flashes, the great room a battlefield strewn with crumpled napkins and shattered illusions. Uncle Frank paced the Persian rug, dialing his old precinct buddy on speaker. "Yeah, Tommy, pull the file on Hargrove, Raymond, 15 incident. Might be cold case material." Aunt Rita huddled with Mom on the love seat. Their whispers a litany of rosaries and recriminations. How could Victor? And you, Elaine, forging for a killer. Cousin Mike hovered by the bar card, pouring doubles like a bootlegger at a speakeasy, his texts now a flurry to keep this off the record. Brooke had retreated upstairs with Hunter, her footsteps echoing like retreating troops, but not before leveling Travis with a look that said divorce papers by dawn. Dad slumped in his recliner, the king dethroned, muttering about starting over in Florida, maybe Orlando. Travis, though, the chameleon, adapted faster than kudzu in July. He cornered me by the fireplace, the flames licking at birch logs like accusatory tongues. "You win, Ken. This round." His breath reeked of scotch and desperation, but his eyes? Calculating odds, scouting exits. "What do you want? Money? The lake house deed? Name it, and it's yours." The offer dangled, controversial bait. Buy my silence with the spoils of Ray's grave. I met his gaze, the firelight carving hollows in his cheeks. "I want what you stole from me, Trav. My life. The years you pissed away while I counted push-ups in a cell." He laughed, low and bitter, the sound scraping like gravel under tires. "Life? You think this family's worth saving? Dad's a crook, Mom's a junkie, and me? I'm the realist who kept the lights on." His flip was poetry in motion, from patricidal plotter to pragmatic savior, recasting the betrayal as mutual survival. "You covered for Ray too, remember? Held the flashlight while I cut those lines. We were in it together, sis. Partners." The word slithered out, laced with that old sibling charm, the one that got us out of detentions and double dates. But it ignited something feral in me, the pent-up rage of a woman who'd traded scrubs for stripes. I shoved him back, the poker clattering from its stand. Partners, you framed me for your greed. Let me rot while you yachted in the Caymans. Ray was collateral, a loose end you snipped because he grew a conscience. Voices surged from the sidelines. Uncle Frank bellowing, "Back off her, you little shit." Mom wailing, "Don't make it worse, Travis." The melee crested as Brooke descended the stairs. Hunter's baby monitor clipped to her waist like a grenade. Her face was a mask of resolve, mascara tracks dried to war paint. I heard everything. The truck, the payoffs. God, Travis, the crypto? You told me it was tech stocks. She thrust her phone at him, screen aglow with my anonymous tip to her, the ledger link, forwarded from the PI's burner. Travis's empire teetered. He reached for her, pleading, "Babe, it's exaggerated. Kin's poison. She's twisting it to split us." But Brooke recoiled, the flip reversing on him, from devoted wife to whistleblower in waiting. "Split us? You split a man's skull for a bonus. I'm calling my father. He knows lawyers. Real ones, not your corner-cutting hacks." Dad lurched to his feet then, the controversial patriarch rearing up in full denial mode. "Enough. This stays in the family. Ray was a drunk. Hell, he probably did swerve. And the money? It was our money, hard-earned through nights and weekends." His finger jabbed the air, indicting the room. "You think the cops care about some podunk accountant from Illyria? They'd bury it under Epstein files." Uncle Frank snorted, "Try me, Vic. I got pull." But Dad's eyes, wild with cornered animal cunning, landed on me. "Kinley, you started this. Walk away now, and I'll wire you 50 grand. College, a fresh start. Be the bigger person." The offer hung, a devil's bargain that cleaved the clan deeper. Aunt Rita gasped, "Victor, hush your mouth. That's bribery." Cousin Mike paused mid-pour, weighing shares in the silence. Mom, mascara rivers on her cheeks, clutched Dad's arm. "He's right, Kinley. For old times." The tension coiled, a spring wound to snapping. Revenge or redemption? I could taste the divide. Frank's Justice Squad versus the Blood Loyalists. Brooke's exodus threatening Travis's facade. Lightning cracked outside, illuminating the rain-lashed windows like fractured mirrors. That's when Travis lunged for the baby monitor, snatching it from Brooke's hip. Not to soothe Hunter's cries, but to hurl it at the TV, shattering the screen in a spray of glass and sparks. "Fuck this. All of you. Hypocrites in your Sunday best, judging me." The act was raw, unscripted, his mask shredding to reveal the mob beneath. A man who'd kill for a quarter and cry foul when caught. Chaos bloomed. Aunt Rita shrieking, Uncle Frank tackling him in a bear hug that smacked of station house restraint. Mom fainting dead away onto the rug. I stood frozen, the dossier scattering like confetti as they scuffled. Dad bellowed for order, but his voice broke on a sob. "My boy. My legacy." Brooke scooped the papers mid-tumble, her hands trembling but sure, stuffing them into her diaper bag. "I'm done. Taking Hunter to my parents. You can rot in hell, Travis." She stormed out, the front door slamming like a gavel. Travis bucked free of Frank, collapsing against the mantel, chest heaving. "Kinley, you happy now? You nuked it all." But his eyes, even in defeat, schemed, a final flip brewing, perhaps a plea deal implicating Dad to save his skin. Uncle Frank hauled him up, cuffs improvised from a belt. "Save it for the judge, kid." Cousin Mike filmed it all, the modern voyeur, whispering, "This goes viral, we're infamous." As sirens wailed distant, someone must have dialed. I knelt by Mom, her pulse thready under my fingers, the nurse in me overriding the avenger. "Breathe, Mom. In through the nose." She stirred, eyes fluttering open to the wreckage. Her empire in shards, her sons shackled by truth. Dad dropped beside us, head in hands. "What have we done?" The question echoed, unanswered, as blue lights flashed through the blinds. The climax peaked not in blood but breakage. The family cleaved, sides drawn in the gray. Travis's defenders, Dad, whispering alibis even now, versus the reckoners, Frank, barking orders, Rita, praying over the melee. Me? I was the fulcrum, the betrayal's architect and its unwilling scaffold. No clean wins, just the acrid smoke of bridges burned. The cops arrived in a flurry of tack vests and Miranda rights, separating Travis into the back of a cruiser, his howls muffled by rain. Dad followed voluntarily, to make a statement, his lawyer on speed dial. Mom, stabilized on the couch with Aunt Rita's Afghan, rasped, "Kinley." "What?" I cupped her face, the lines etched deeper than I remembered. "Because pity's a lie, Mom." And I was done being the punchline. Uncle Frank clapped my shoulder as he coordinated the perimeter. "You did right, girl. Messy but right." But even he hedged, glancing at the door where Brooke's taillights had vanished. Though, Hunter, kid's innocent in this. By 2 a.m., the house emptied, Rita and Frank to the station, Mike to spin the tale online as Hargrove holiday horror. I lingered in the ruins, sweeping glass with a dustpan, the tang of pine and regret heavy. The dossier's remnants crunched underfoot, fragments of ledgers, a singed photo of us kids at the cabin, snow-dusted and smiling. Revenge tasted like ash, the high of exposure curdling to the low of complicity. I'd rewritten the family, sure, but into what? A footnote in true crime podcasts, a cautionary Yelp review on blood ties? As dawn bled gray over the cul-de-sac, Travis's words echoed. Partners. The twist loomed, unspoken. Maybe we all were, from cradle to courtroom. Dawn broke, grudging over Willow Creek, the rain tapering to a drizzle that pattered like hesitant applause on the gutters. The McMansion stood gutted, its grandeur reduced to a crime scene husk. Yellow tape fluttering from the porch like discarded party streamers, squad cars idling with coffee-slurping uniforms trading war stories. I sat on the curb, knees drawn up, the chills seeping through my jeans as the adrenaline crash hit like a freight train off the rails. My Civic hunkered nearby, a loyal mutt amid the pedigrees, and for a beat, I considered bolting, flooring it back to Akron, clocking into the clinic for the graveyard shift, pretending the night was a fever dream spiked with prison hooch. But the fixer in me, that stubborn Hargrove knot, wouldn't untie. Not yet. Word spread faster than the flu in a dorm. By 7, Mike's video clip, grainy but gripping, Travis's meltdown looped with dramatic zooms, racked up hits on X and TikTok, hashtags like Hargrove Heist and Family Feast Fail, trending in Cleveland feeds. Reporters swarmed the perimeter, Mike's thrust like bayonets, but Frank's pull kept them at bay, his cruiser blocking the drive. "No comment, sweetheart," he growled at a Channel 3 van, then softer to me. "You holding?" I nodded, throat raw from the night's throat-clearing truths. Holding? Barely. The revenge I'd scripted in library cubicles felt hollow now, a script with no curtain call, just echoes in an empty theater. Mom emerged at 8, propped on Rita's arm, her robe askew and eyes puffy as rising dough. The ambulance had cleared her, low blood pressure, anxiety spike, but the pallor clung like a shroud. "Kinley," she breathed, sinking beside me on the wet concrete, her hand finding mine, clammy and trembling. "The police. They took your father too." Questioning. Her voice fractured, the peacemaker unmoored. I squeezed back, the old reflex, but laced with steel. "They should. All of it comes out now, Mom. Ray, the fraud, the whole rotten core." She searched my face, the lines around her mouth deepening. "But you were part of it," Travis said. "He lies to save his skin." I cut in, sharper than intended. "I covered ya, held the light, buried the secret. But I didn't swing the axe." The admission hung, a confession in the morning mist, and for the first time, her eyes cleared, not with absolution, but reckoning. "We made you that way. Fixers for fools." Tears welled, but she dashed them, straightening with a ghost of her realtor's spine. "What now? For us." Us. The word, once a chain, now a question mark. I had no answer, just the dossier's ghost in my purse, its weight lighter, but no less leaden. Brooke called at 9, her number flashing unknown, but the area code screaming Hampton's Trust Fund. "Kinley? It's me." Her voice, stripped of sorority lilt, cracked like thin ice. "Hunter's safe. My folks have a plane. We're gone till this blows." A pause, the whoosh of jet fuel, or just breath. "Thank you for the link." I almost stayed blind. Gratitude laced with grief, the controversial survivor choosing flight over fight. "What about Travis?" I asked, the sister surfacing unbidden. She laughed, brittle. "Divorce. And testimony. Full cooperation. He doesn't get near my son." The line hummed. "Then you okay?" No one had asked that in years. "Getting there," I said, and meant it a sliver. The station visit came mid-morning, Frank escorting me through the fluorescent buzz of the bullpen, coffee rings on desks, wanted posters curling at the edges. Travis slouched in interrogation, cuffs chaining him to the table like a bad prom date. His suit rumpled, eyes bloodshot but sharp. The flipmaster unbowed. Kinley, come to gloat. I slid into the chair opposite, the mirror behind him reflecting my resolve. No, to hear you say it. He leaned in, chains rattling. Say what? That dad greenlit Ray? That mom dosed his flask first. The bombs dropped casual, flips within flips, implicating the progenitors to lighten his load. We were drowning, sis. Ray was the shark circling. You get it, you held the damn light. The detective, a grizzled vet named Kowalski with a mustache like a broom bristle, rapped the door. Off the record, Hargrove. But yeah, she was there. Travis's grin twisted. See? Partners. Testify against me. You testify against yourself. The threat coiled, but I uncoiled it slow. Difference is, I serve my time. You? Facing Ray's ghost and a Rico rap. I produced the final piece, the crypto key, decrypted by the PI, linking Travis's wallet to payoffs and a slush fund for witnesses. His face fell then, the antagonist stripped to bones. Please, Ken. Hunter. Brooke. But the plea curdled to snarl. You think you're clean? You enjoyed the house, the holidays, blood money bought your nursing books. He wasn't wrong, and that's the twist that lodged like a fishhook. No pure avenger, just a family of grifters grading on a curve of culpability. I left him to Kowalski's tender mercies, the room shrinking in the glass's warp. Dad waited and holding. His bluster boiled down to whimpers. Bail me out, pumpkin. We can spin this, family defense. But I shook my head, the fixer's chain snapping. Spin your own web, Dad. I'm done. By noon, the machine ground on. Arraignments set, pleas negotiated in smoke-filled rooms. Mom and I drove back in silence, the wipers swiping at the last drops. Rita's casserole waited on the counter, tuna noodle, comfort in chaos, and we ate standing, forks scraping Pyrex. What now? She echoed her earlier question. I chewed, the noodles bland as regret. Therapy. Real job. Maybe Seattle. Fresh coast. No Hargroves. She nodded, a spark in her eyes. And us. Letters. Holidays on neutral turf. If you stay clean. The truce tentative, debatable. Forgiveness or fool's errand. Weeks blurred. Headlines faded from front-page fury to sidebar squibs. Travis's trial a slog of motions and mistrials. He flipped twice more, ratting Dad for leniency, then recanting for a book deal whisper. Dad took a plea, 10 years white-collar easy. Mom sold the McMansion, downsized to a condo in Sarasota. Her realtor license lapsed, but AA meetings steady. Brooke? Custody won. A quiet wedding to a litigator the next spring. Hunter's christening invite lost in my spam. Me? I transferred to a Seattle clinic. The Space Needles glow a far cry from Ohio's sodium halos. Shifts in the ER honed the old skills, patching bullet holes and broken hearts with equal detachment. The dossier? Shredded, but its scars mapped my skin. Reminders that revenge rewrites, but doesn't erase. Family Thanksgivings? Virtual now, Zooms with stilted toasts and Hunter's pixelated grins. Last call, Mom raised her mocktail. To pity invites and second acts. I smiled, genuine this time, to rewriting the script. But in quiet nights, Puget Sound lapping like unanswered questions, the debate lingers. Did I free us? Or just fracture the cage? Travis writes from medium security, letters laced with what-ifs, partners still in infamy. No tidy end, just the American grind. Tense, twisted, eternally up for argument. And me, McKinley Hargrove? Survivor, sinner, the ghost who crashed the feast and stayed for the reckoning.